Hey guys, this is lesson 3.1 for algebra. 3.1's title is Solving Two-Step Equations. So hopefully you remember this from the end of last year. If you remember, what I told you to do to solve these two-step equations is you have this equal sign. So I like to split the equation into two equal parts. If you remember, this is like a balance scale. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So first I need to isolate my variable, which means I want to get y alone. So if this is minus 3, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 7 plus 3 is 10. And then I bring down my 2y because I didn't do anything to that. And then minus 3 plus 3, they end up equaling 0, so I don't need to write anything else. Now I'm left with my multiplication, which is 2 times y equals 10. So I do the opposite, which is divide. I divide both sides by 2, so then I see that 5 equals y. Now, you want to check your answer, which it says right here. Check your answer. So what that means is put in 5 for y. So I have 7 equals 2 times 5 minus 3. Does 7 equal 10 minus 3? Yes, it does. Okay, the next one stumps a lot of people because it has a fraction. So first I'm going to draw my line, and I'm going to add 15 to both sides because I want to get my x by itself. So minus 15 plus 15 cancels out. I have x over 9. 12 plus 15 is 27. Now, this is x divided by 9. Completely different than what we had over here, which was 2 times y. This one was multiplication, so I divided. This is division, so I multiply both sides by 9. These two cancel out. I get x, and then I have to just do 27 times 9. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 6 is 24. So 243 is my answer. Now check. Is 243 divided by 9 minus 15, does that equal 12? Well, 243 divided by 9 is 27 minus 15, and yes, that equals 12. This last one, I draw my line. I minus 15 from both sides. So then I get negative x equals negative 3. Now, the negative x, if you look at that, it is assumed to be a 1 in the front. So that is multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. These cancel out, and I'm left with just x. And a negative divided by a negative makes a positive. So now let's check. Negative 3 plus 15, does that equal 12? Yes, it does. Okay, now, suppose your high school's baseball team scored 5 runs in Saturday's game. This was 4 more than half the runs scored by the opposing team. How many runs did the opposing team score? So, I have to solve this equation. So your high school team scored 5 runs. So I'm going to write that down. 5 runs. This was, 4 more than half the runs. So half the runs, 1/2 x, plus 4. 4 more than half the runs scored by the opposing team. How many runs did the opposing team score? So now, 1/2 x, I wrote it like that because I like to have my variable in my numerator. You can write it next to it or anywhere you want. It really doesn't matter as long as it's in the numerator or denominator. So now I'm going to minus 4 from both sides. So 5 minus 4 is 1. And then I have 1/2 x. Now this is division, if you remember. So the opposite of division is to times by 2. So I'm going to times it by 2. So I get 2 as my answer. Now, let's see. The baseball team scored 5. This was 4 more than half the runs. So half the runs would be 1 plus 4 is 5. So that works. All right, writing a function. In a catalog, tulips cost 75 each and shipping costs are $3. Write a rule that describes the amount spent as a function of the number of bulbs ordered. Now, it says, then determine the greatest number of bulbs that you can order for $14. So, they wrote a rule right here. A equals, A is the amount spent, 75 cents times the number of bulbs plus $3 for shipping. Because $3 is a set amount. Every single one of us would pay $3 no matter how many bulbs we bought. The one that changes is the 75 cents per bulb. So now, they did this equation. 14 equals 0.75b plus 3. So I subtract 3 from both sides. So now I get 11 equals 0.75 times b. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 0.75. So then you take your calculator and you do 11 divided by 0.75, and I can order 14 bulbs. Now, my answer was 14.6, but you can't order that 0.6 because then you would go over, because you can't order 0.6 of a bulb. So you have to round down to make sure you stay within your required amount. So try this one. Suppose you have $25 to spend on tulips. What's the greatest number of bulbs you can order? Miss Simmons works at a furniture store. Her base salary is $125 a week plus 1/12 of her sales. Write a rule that describes her total salary as a function of her sales. Then find the amount of her sales if her total weekly salary is $255. So push pause, try these, and then we'll go on. All right, you have $25 to spend on tulips, so I'm going to put that out front. $25 is 0.75 per bulb plus 3. So I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to minus 3 from both sides. So then I get $22 times 0.7b. I'm going to divide by 0.75. So 22 divided by 0.75 is 29 bulbs I can order. The next one, her base salary is $125 a week. Okay, so I have $125 a week plus 1/12 of her sales. And I want that to equal $255. That's how you would set this up. She gets $125 plus 1/12 of her sales, which a lot of people work on sales. If you've ever been to a furniture store, when they come and like attack you, that's usually sales. So minus 125 from both sides. So then you get 1/12x equals 255 minus 125, which is 130. Now what you have to do is, this is 1 over 1 divided by 12, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 12. So 130 times 12. So my sales, her sales would have to be $1,560 in order for her to make $255, which isn't very much. That's like a couch and a chair. Okay, now last thing is deductive reasoning. This is the process of reasoning logically from given facts to a conclusion. So I just want you to look at this. Use deductive reasoning to justify each step in simplifying an expression. We're going to do a little bit more of this, but here's my equation. Solve 1 equals k over 12 plus 5 and justify each step. So first step is my original equation. That really doesn't mean much. Now my second step, where I subtract 5 from both sides, that is the subtraction property of equality. And it would be the same if I added 5 to both sides. That would be the addition property of equality, which means whatever I do to one side, I can do to the other. You're making things equal. So hence the word equality. Here I just simplified. That's my third step. And then if you notice in my fourth step, I multiply both sides by 12. That is the multiplication property of equality. Same thing again, multiplication property of equality, and then I have my answer. So we will be doing more of this, but I just wanted you to have this down in your notes. And that is it for your notes for 3.1.